be original or be forgotten, is that if a friend came up to me, I'm based in Los Angeles, but I lived 10 years out in the East Coast, went to all the big East Coast cities. And if a friend came up to me today and said, hey, I'm going to the East Coast, and I've only got time to see 3 cities, which 3 cities should I go see? I'd say, number 1, you got to go see New York. The energy, biggest city in America. You know, it's the head of Wall Street, media, fashion. Got to go to New York. There's nothing in America like New York. And then I'd say you got to go to Washington, D.C. It's the power hub of America, the monuments, the White House. You got to go to Washington, D.C. So you go to New York for the energy and then the size, and then you go to Washington, D.C. for the power and the monuments. And then he'd say, okay, I got 1 city left. And I'd say, go to Boston. And he'd say, like, well, what about Philadelphia? And I'd say, yeah, just go to Boston. That's like Philadelphia with better soup and more Super Bowls. It's just a better version. And that's why Kobe scored 60 points. And by the time he got home, probably helicoptered, we didn't talk about him anymore. He's always been MJ Light. I know in L.A. that doesn't stand very well. You get very angry when I say that. I'm not saying he's not great. But there's a reason nobody ever really embraced Christian Slater. He was too much like Jack Nicholson. I like Lady Gaga. I saw it before called Madonna. I like Philadelphia. Boston's a better version. Magic Johnson retired 20 years ago. He is still talked about constantly. A total original. I mean, Kobe scored 60 left. By the time he got home that night, we were done talking about him. Until last night. You look at the greats in the history of basketball. I've been watching the NBA for 40 years. The sky hook, nothing like it. Wilt Chamberlain led the league in points, rebounds, 1-year assists, nothing like him. And nothing like Magic Johnson. There's never been anything like LeBron James. There had never been something as relentless as Michael Jordan. Larry Bird was the first 6'10 guy, walked into the league. He was the best shooter and maybe the second best passer to Magic. The originals last and are talked about because we've never seen anything like them. Kobe was remarkable, but I've seen it. A better version, it was called Michael Jordan. That's why Shaq was so unique. Centers looked like Jabbar or Russell. They were tall and thin. And here came 330-pound Shaq. That's why Magic was so unique. Point guards looked like, like Gail Goodrich back in the old Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton. This guy's 6'9", looks like a power forward. Legends always have a distinction. That's why Steph Curry is going to last a long time. Steph Curry changed the game. And nobody looked like Steph Curry. Small little guy, best ball handler in the league, with range just inside the parking lot. That's why LeBron's so amazing. He's like 12% Pippen, 9% Magic, 13% Wilt, 69% like Alien. When I look at Kobe Bryant, I always think like Bob De Niro, the actor. There's like a handful of actors who are really originals. Morgan Freeman is an original. Philip Seymour Hoffman was an original. Bob De Niro was an original. There's a bunch of really good actors that sort of remind me of Bob De Niro, like Tom Sizemore and Michael Madsen and Chaz Palminteri, but they're not De Niro. De Niro's the one I'll remember. Be original or be forgotten. There was nothing like Magic and nothing like Bird and nothing like Wilt and nothing like Shaq, and there's nothing like LeBron James. You go to a steakhouse, you don't come home talking about their second best steak. Lonzo Ball in October comes into the NBA and looks a little overwhelmed, and he's got to shoot quicker, he's got to dribble quicker, he's got to react quicker, he's got to pass quicker. He shoots 33%. And then in November, he gets a couple of big games, still shooting around 32, 33%. Well, what do you know in December? Now look at him. He's shooting 42%. His three-point percentage has gone up from October. And now in December, everything's going up. So he's catching up to the NBA speed. He's no longer overwhelmed. He's beating guys off the dribble. His release on his shot feels a little bit quicker. You can see it all coming together, but it's mostly he has caught up to NBA speed. Here's a nice play by Lonzo Ball last night. Let's go sound up.
Rebound Lonzo Ball. Lakers down 1. Coming up on a minute to play in overtime number 1. Lonzo attacks. Donovan goes all the way. Laid up and in. Lonzo Ball gives the Lakers the lead. Timeout, Golden State.
Now, there are times he's still passive and disappears. I think that's he has to fight that. It's part of his DNA. But he's got a couple of things. Last night, he was 16, 6, and 6. He does not turn the ball over. He is long. He is quick. He is really long, and he's really quick. He is a tremendous passer, and he's got great court awareness. Last night, there was a moment late in the game. I think it was overtime. He's waving to Brandon Ingram. He was the only Laker that was aware of the clock. He's like, come on, speed it up. Go, go, go. Yeah, here it is right here. You'll watch Lonzo Ball on this play on the far left. You know, Brandon's taking his dear sweet time, and Lonzo's like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. He's aware of the clock. So it's all starting to come together. His coach, Luke Walton, after the game last night on his progression this year.
He puts in the work. You know, he's getting his work in pre-practice. He's getting his shots in post-practice. And he's probably getting a little more comfortable with the NBA game, the speed, how teams are guarding him, the whirlwind that it's been so far in his early career is probably just getting a little more comfortable for him.
Listen, there's a lot of big guys in college basketball and football. The speed of pro sports is daunting and overwhelming, and it clearly takes time to adjust. Lonzo has adjusted. He's very smart, very long, very quick, great vision, really coming into his own, and he does not, considering how often he has the ball, he does not turn the ball over. I went to the UCLA game Saturday. He played at UCLA. And I sat next to an agent. I got free tickets from Whitlock, and I sat next to an agent. And we were watching UCLA play. And UCLA has 2 of the top, 8 recruits in the country. Very talented guys. And I said, how did you go to the games last year? He goes, oh, God. He goes, Lonzo literally stepped on the floor and changed the whole program. He goes, as good as these young players are, they don't change the game. They don't change the atmosphere of the arena. They don't change the culture of the program. He's like, I've never seen a player walk into a program, a college player walk in, never cared about points, never cared about stats, never cared about anything other than getting his teammates involved. And he went on and on. He's like, and he goes, and by the way, this agent was Steve Alford's agent. So Alford, the coach at UCLA, and I said, did Steve like him? He goes, he loved him. He goes, you know, most of these guys come in from AAU basketball. They're checking the stat sheet. How many did I score? He goes, Lonzo didn't look at a stat sheet the entire year. So I think the speed of the game, he's catching up to it. We're seeing some nice moments. He is still, at times, passive and disappears. I think that's his DNA, and I don't think that part of him is going to go away. I think he's going to have to fight his kind of instincts on that to be a little more aggressive more often. And by the way, we're all fighting something. I talk too much. I talk too fast. Everybody's fighting something. We all have certain DNAs and certain habits and flaws and liabilities. That's his. He does disappear. He kind of just checks out, and he's going to have to fight that. But that's okay. Kobe had to fight something. It was called shooting every time he got the ball.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from the newest show on FS1, First Things First, with Chris Carter and Nick Wright.